Hello, everybody, and welcome back here about another episode of the BSN Sports podcast. Today is Thursday, June 23rd. Hope everybody's having a day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, June 23rd today, coming off a wild night last night in baseball. A great win for the New York Yankees. A wild comeback victory. They were down 4-1, and the Rays looked like they had control the entire game. It kind of looked like it was going to be maybe one of those rare nights where the Rays just come out, start strong, and they just finish strong. But what I said yesterday about this Yankee team and what I've said over the course of this season with this Yankee team is they will battle, they are going to fight, and they're going to grind other teams all the way until the end. It is not going to be an easy win. There's not going to be any game where it's, a blowout and the Yankees kind of just, say, all right, and if there are those games, they're going to be very minimal, and there's not going to be many of them because this Yankee team, similar to what other Yankee teams in the past have done, come back in games, keep you on your edge of your seat, put runners on base, get the big hit. And the offense this series wasn't excellent. I mean, it wasn't, dominant by any means. It wasn't a dominant offense. But they got the hits when they needed to. And Jose Trevino stepping up in a big way last night. Aaron Judge with not just two home runs, but two long home runs into the left field seats at Tropicana Field. So a great win last night for the Yankees, 5-4, and Clay Holmes comes on and nails it down, and that is one of the better 1-2 punches in all baseball. You have a very good offense, and you have a closer like Clay Holmes that could close it down, and the Yankees come back from down 4-1, and they get the win 5-4. So a very good win last night, and a very good series win. Coming out of this short road trip, Yankees go 4-2, 2 series wins. In Toronto, they took 2 out of 3. And here in Tampa, they took 2 out of 3. Now they go back to New York. And here we go. Houston, New York, Yankees, Astros tonight. First of a 4-game set. Super pumped up for this series. This is going to be a great series. This has been one we've all been circling on our calendar, especially with the way both these teams are playing. 2 best teams in the American League. 2 top 5 teams in baseball. Yankees are the best team in baseball. Astros, I think, have like the 3rd or 4th best record. So great, 2 very good baseball teams tonight, and it's going to be awesome. 4-game set, Thursday through Sunday, so looking forward to that. Mets took a tough loss yesterday. Cookie Carrasco just could not, just wasn't enough. Just struggled early. I think the Mets lost 5-3 or something. It was just a tough day for the Mets, and a little 2-game sweep by the Astros. If you want to call it a sweep, you can. If you don't, you don't have to. But that's the one thing in baseball people always wonder, whether you call the 2-game series sweeps or if you call them 2-game, because it's not a 3-game or a 4-game series. But the Astros were better than the Mets this series. They outplayed them. Mets pitching wasn't very good. Astros big bats came alive. Mets, that's the moment as Mets fans where you get a little concerned with the pitching because Carrasco is kind of wild. He's all over the place at times. I know they had Trevor Williams and stuff, but at times his pitching, although it's been very good at times, there's also been games where it's extremely head-scratching. And then you're like, oh my gosh, we need DeGrom and Scherzer back. So Mets will have a day off today. They'll start up a 3-game set tomorrow in Miami, Friday through Sunday. And hopefully Sunday, what Met fans are hoping is Max Scherzer's on the mound. So that's that. So Mets, day off today. They'll be back in action tomorrow. 3-game set against Miami. Yankees first of a 4-game set today against the Astros. And, let's get into the topics for today's podcast. Got a lot to get to today on this Thursday. We're going to start off with the Knicks and the draft possibilities. Yes, tonight is the NBA draft, Thursday, June 23rd. All the rumors have been swirling, all the different possibilities. Who's going 1, who's not, who's going top 5, who's going to be the guy that drops, who's going to be that late round steal, late in the 1st or in the 2nd. You always go into the draft with those questions. And really, the big question is what are the New York Knicks going to do tonight? Leon Rose has many different possibilities, many different options on his hands. Does he trade up? Does he go back? What does he do, Leon Rose? Does he trade the pick for a proven star, for a veteran, for more picks? Do they gather more picks and trade back? A lot of options for the New York Knicks. So really, really, really looking forward to that. I'm obviously not, I'm not obviously not a Knicks fan, but should be a very, 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 should be a very good draft tonight and a very interesting draft for the New York Knicks, and an opportunity for this Knicks team to really change the trajectory of this franchise. Yet again, another off season where they have an opportunity. Are they going to take advantage of this time? We'll see. We'll get to that. We're also going to get to the Avalanche and the Lightning. Game 4 was last night, a wild Game 4, as a matter of fact. So, an interesting Game 4 last night. Was there 6 guys on the ice? Should it have been a good goal? It's an interesting one, to say the least. I will give you my thoughts on it. But the Avalanche go up 3-1, and now the clinching Game 5 tomorrow night back in Denver. Exactly what Colorado wanted. Find a way to just get one win in Tampa and get back to Denver with a 3-1 series lead. Colorado is one win away from winning the Stanley Cup, so we'll get to that. We'll also finish things off, like always, with the New York sports update. Yankees tonight against the Astros. Mets day off. They'll be back in action tomorrow against the Marlins. So, with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So tonight's the NBA draft. I'm sure you've probably heard around the news, different, possibilities, the mock drafts, who's going here, and tonight is the draft. So tonight is when it all the dominoes fall in place, all the pieces fall in, and, wherever all the puzzle pieces fall in place, and wherever, whatever happens. But tonight, for the Nets, isn't a big night, because the Nets don't have a first-round pick, so it's not really a night, and I don't foresee the Nets trading into the first round, because that would make no sense. I think the biggest thing with the Nets right now, what they're focused on Kyrie Irving, what's going on with him, and how they're going to try to get him back on the team, because the Nets need to get Kyrie back, because you can't let a guy like that go, and I've said that multiple times on the podcast. But this is about the Knicks. This is about tonight being the Knicks. And, it's funny, because every year we find ourselves talking about the Knicks on draft night, because the Knicks usually have that high-end pick. They usually have, a top-tier pick, and, tonight they're late lottery. They hold 2 picks, but they hold, mainly the 11th overall pick is the big pick that people are talking about. And, people are wondering, where do the Knicks go tonight? And tonight, it's not like the Knicks have that top 5 pick, or that, top 10 pick, or that prestigious, number 1 overall pick, or, that 3rd pick, or like a 6th pick. They have the 11th pick, so they're in an interesting spot tonight, because they could do many different things tonight in order to turn this franchise around. And there's obviously a clear need for talent on this New York Knicks team, right? Last season they had a very disappointing year, only got a little over the 30-win mark, coming off a very, very good season where they got to the postseason, ended up losing to the Hawks in the first round, but a really good year for first-year coach Tom Thibodeau. And you would probably go ahead and say, not probably, it's kind of, it kind of shows us all that they did overachieve in Thibodeau's first year, but it was clear what Thibodeau can do to a roster. It was clear what Thibodeau can do to a team, do to an organization to turn things around, because you did not see that in a really long time for the New York Knicks, and you were able to see that 2 years ago during the COVID shortened season from the Knicks, and then last year you have the disappointing season. So this year is a big year, because you're entering Thibodeau's 3rd season. I would imagine if Thibodeau has another disappointing year, or at least a year where he doesn't show any progress from last season, very good chance maybe he's gone, and then you restart. And this is kind of where the Knicks have been. They've been in this 3-year process where, guys, coaches are here for 2 to 3 years, and then they restart. 2 to 3 years, restart. And it's a process where that's not how you're going to build a winning basketball team. That's not how you're going to build consistent winning within an organization. Look at the Jets. They've gone through so many coaches, 22 to be exact, in their franchise. So many 1 to 2 year guys, and it's rinse and repeat. Same thing with the Knicks. So the Knicks need to have a good offseason this year and get back to the Knicks that you saw during the 2020 season, which was a team that, got to the postseason, a team that, yes, they lost, but it was a team that, won games by defense, physicality. They got the fans involved. It was like, it was, they were excited. They were one of those, there was like that, they had that old-time basketball team type feel with the defense, not great offensively, but they got defense, which generated into points. and then last season a disappointing year. So they need to have a good offseason this year. And what do the Knicks do this offseason? That's the big thing, because you wonder, every year you go into it with the possibility of, oh, do we bring in a big-time star? Oh, do we bring in this guy? Or, oh, this guy's coming here, this guy's coming here. Every year, the Knicks are going all out. The clear thing that the Knicks need this year is a point guard. And it starts tonight with the draft. And there's a lot of good options out there, not so much at the point guard position, but to improve the roster. We've heard Jalen Brunson's name come up many times within the rumor mill of a possible point guard the Knicks can go out for. You've heard Damian Lillard's name. You've heard, another guard being Donovan Mitchell's name come up. But, those are some of the big-time names. But the Knicks, I would probably go ahead and say maybe go out and search more for a point guard, because that's a clear need. But what the Knicks need to do tonight is they need to nail tonight's draft. They need to bring in another young piece, another guy that fits Thibodeau's system, a guy that's going to play hard, and ultimately a guy that will get minutes, because Thibodeau, towards the end of the season, was starting to give minutes to his young players. And the Knicks actually, in the month of April, finished out their season winning 3 of their last 4. Not that means anything, but he started to play the young guys, and they started to win a lot more games. They started to show a lot more promise. So if you bring in another young piece today in the draft, you all of a sudden look at your roster, Emmanuel Quickley, Obi Toppin, right? You look at a guy, you wonder what's going to happen with Mitchell Robinson, but you have R.J. Barrett. You have, Quentin Grimes, who showed some promise last season. You have some interesting young pieces there as well. You obviously always are going to wonder what Julius Randle is going to be, what's going to happen with him. But if you bring in a guy like a Jaden Ivey tonight and bring in a guy like him, if he is as good as what people are saying, that's a guy you could possibly trade up in the top 5. And do the Knicks possibly trade Cam Reddish tonight? That's another option. And you've heard rumors swirling about the possibility of the Knicks trading Cam Reddish. So here is some of the possibility the Knicks can go tonight. Like I said, I wrote down about 6 possibilities for the New York Knicks. To be exact, it was actually 5. So 5 possibilities for the New York Knicks. Really 4 good ones. The one other one's kind of like an outside chance not happening. But a lot of people within the Knicks, a lot of people close to the Knicks, a lot of fans of the Knicks believe that the Knicks aren't going to stay at number 11. They're going to either move up, trade back, or trade that pick for a proven star, proven player, which would be intriguing to wonder if they do that, who that proven player is. So there's a lot of possibilities tonight, again, for the New York Knicks to really build this roster and get back to, that winning ways that the Knicks once were. A lot of opportunities to do that tonight. So here are some possibilities. You could trade up with the Pistons. We've heard rumors about that. Pistons right now, top 5 pick, right? You could trade up with them, get the number 5 pick, add a top 5 pick, and you possibly go there with Jaden Ivey. Now, Pistons just traded Jeremy Grant, their leading scorer. They got a 2025 first-round pick in return from the Trailblazers. So it's interesting to see them trade their leading scorer. Pistons, I think, are kind of showing us all they're going all out for a full-on rebuild. They're already in a rebuild, but I think now they're completely getting rid of any of their veterans and just bringing in young talent, right? They got, they got a lot of young talent. Cade Cunningham being kind of the face of the franchise, the cornerstone, being the number 1 overall pick last year. So that's an option you could trade up with Detroit. I don't know if Detroit's going to be willing to do that just because of the fact that with them building with so much young talent, if they're going to want to trade out, Knicks maybe, in order to get that, might have to give up maybe a younger piece for that, and I don't know if the Knicks are going to want to do that. But if the Knicks believe that Jaden Ivey is really as good as advertised, a top 5 pick to move up into that could be with the Pistons. And like I said, Cam Reddish, there's rumors that he could be involved. He's younger, but do the Pistons really want that type of player? Or do they want a guy maybe with a little bit more upside, maybe a guy that's still very, very young? Because Reddish has played a couple seasons already. He's young, but you wonder, how much more are you going to get out of Cam Reddish? Because Cam Reddish is that weird player, because when he came over with the Knicks, he was that solid asset that they picked up via the trade, and then it was just like, he just wasn't non-existent. Thibodeau barely gave him minutes. So Cam Reddish could be an option to trade there. You might want to get, the Pistons might ask for another younger piece, maybe like a Grimes or somebody like that. Not somebody like a Barrett or a Quickly, somebody that young, that talented, but maybe one of their other pieces, or an Obi Toppin or somebody like that. Not somebody like that, but like a Cam Reddish or someone on the younger side where the Knicks maybe don't have as much invested into them. So that could be a possibility. Number 2 kind of correlates with number 1, go all out for Jaden Ivey. Jaden Ivey, everyone's projecting he's going to be a top 5 pick. People say that this is one of the better prospects they've seen in a long time in terms of all-around play. What he can do on the offensive end, what he can do on the defensive end, what he did at Purdue, just the way he carries himself, what he brings at an all-around level on the court. Athleticism, all that stuff. Very good player. He's a guy that you can look at, especially with, so the top 3 picks most likely would probably be something like Holmgren, would probably be something like Jabari Smith out of Auburn, Chet Holmgren out of Gonzaga, and then Paolo Banchero, I think that's how you pronounce his name, out of Duke. That could possibly be your top 3. So if the Knicks move into that top 5 role, Ivy very well could be there 4, 5, or 6. That could very well be a possibility. So that's what makes things interesting. If those 3 picks are most likely going to be the case, I think Jabari Smith's most likely going number 1. Then it's Holmgren or Banchero or somebody like that. If that's the case, 4 or 5, Ivy's probably going to be there, but I don't think he's going to be out of there in the top 5. So if the Knicks want to go in, trade into the top 5, get Jaden Ivey, still have another pick, they could do that too. But it's going to take a lot to trade into the top 5. Because what I'm hearing is Jaden Ivey, a guy that a lot of teams, including the Knicks, are very high on. And a guy that there's going to be trade calls to trade up to get Jaden Ivey. So it might take a lot. But if the Knicks want to go all out for that guy that they could believe is another franchise cornerstone, add that on top of Quickly, Barrett, and Toppin, Knicks could very well do that. And it could involve a trade with the Pistons, like I mentioned a couple times already. Knicks could also, I don't see this happening, but you never know, they could trade back and gather more picks. Because if you recall, Emmanuel Quickly was actually like a 23rd overall pick. He was a later round pick in the first round. Later pick in the first round. He wasn't your top 10, top 15 player, and he improved a lot last season. He showed a lot of really, really, really promising things. So for him, he's a guy with, for him, he's a guy that brings a lot to the table, and with his shooting ability, with his deep shot ability, he's a very good guard. A guy that's got a bright future. Needs to work a little bit on knowing when to shoot, because I think he shoots sometimes a little too much. He pulls up and shoots. He's not Steph Curry, but he's a very good player. He's good from deep. I think the only thing with Quickly is he's got to be a little bit better. He's got to be a little bit more patient. Sometimes he gets the ball and just shoots it. He's got to get the ball and kind of look over his options and then figure out what he's going to do. But he's a guy that the Knicks got in the later round, or the later pick in the first round. So if the Knicks trade back, maybe see a guy with an upside like Quickly at any position and feel, look, we can get this guy in the later round, gather more picks, build more depth, and get a guy like that. If they're not all in on Jaden Ivey, could be an option there. You could also go all out and trade for a star or a proven player, right? Whether that's a guy like Donovan Mitchell or a Lillard, I don't foresee this happening. But I'm just saying, or even just like a proven player. Just a proven player. It doesn't have to be anybody. It doesn't have to be a superstar or a star. It could just be a proven player. We talked about Jalen Brunson. Now he's going to be a free agent. He'd be a free agent, but he's a guy that could be an option through free agency. He's a proven player. He's not a star. He's not a superstar. He's not Damian Lillard. He's not Donovan Mitchell. He's not one of those stars. But he's a proven player that has a playoff resume, that is good, still young, still got a lot left in the tank. Guy like that. Knicks could do that. What could be what team? Who knows? Many options out there. Jeremy Grant is out of the Pistons. So, if there was maybe the possibility of trading, a pick or two to get Grant, somebody like that who's a proven player, not a star, is out of the equation. Not saying the Knicks were going to get Jeremy Grant. I'm just saying proven player like that. Jeremy Grant's not a star. He's not Kawhi Leonard. as a forward. He's not Kevin Durant. He's not a superstar. He's not an all-time great, but he's a proven player, right? So Knicks could do that. I would see more so if they are going to trade for somebody, it's a proven player. And if they're actually going to make a big-time trade, it's going to be in the offseason when their roster is more, solidified and they know what they got. Then they're going to go out. Because it's risky sometimes. If you trade away draft picks, it's risky. Trading away draft picks is a risky thing. Now, if you're trading back, it's not that risky. But if you trade away draft picks for a proven or a star player, and that star player doesn't work out for you, and that draft pick turns into a very good player, that hurts. I always go back to the Nets. When they made all those trades for Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, the Celtics got a lottery pick from that. One of those lottery picks turned into Jason Tatum. So that's what happened. And the Nets, that obviously, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce trade blew up right in their face. I don't even want to talk about that trade. That was terrible. That blew up right in their face. Didn't get anywhere close to the NBA Finals. It was ridiculous because they made that trade when the Miami Heat were so good, and it was in the Eastern Conference. What were they doing? I don't know what they were doing. But either way, so they obviously made that trade. One of those lottery picks turned into Jason Tatum, who we all know what Jason Tatum is now. So Knicks could do that too. Do I see them trading for Donovan Mitchell tonight? No. Do I see them trading for Damian Lillard? No. Do I see them making a trade for a proven player? Probably not, but it's an option out there if the Knicks, because the 11th pick's weird. Because there's a lot of talent going to go in the top 5, and is there really a guy there that the Knicks want at number 11? And if there's a guy that maybe he's there at number 11, but they feel might be there later on, they could do that too. Most likely, what the Knicks will probably do tonight with all these different options, they'll probably stay at number 11, draft the guy, and roll with it. That's what they seem to do. There usually seems to be a lot of drama around the Knicks, and they never live up to that drama. They usually tend to do nothing. Like, we're getting Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. Everybody thought the Knicks were getting them. Never happened. Everyone thought the Knicks were going to win the lottery. Never happened. Everyone thought, the Knicks would go all out for Kawhi. Never happened. Donovan Mitchell, people thought Donovan Mitchell was going to be the Knick last year. Never happened. People thought by now Zion would be a Knick via a trade. Never happened. So I would probably go ahead and say that Knicks most likely would trade, most likely is going to stay at their number 11 pick. The most likely possibility outside of that, I could see the Knicks going with a maybe trading up, because I think Jaden Ivey is one of those guys with R.J. Barrett and company, could be one of those one of those young pieces that really, really just takes your roster from young to really young and that much better. So that's what I could see. But and then my fifth option on here, which is not going to happen, but you always got to keep it in the back of your mind, if the Knicks decide to go crazy tonight and trade Julius Randle. Why would they do that? I have no clue why, but they could go crazy and do that. There's some Knicks fans out there that I've seen via, the sports apps and stuff like that say, what if you do this and this and this and add this guy in the deal? It's not happening. I don't think the Knicks are going to make a blockbuster trade tonight. There are rumors, though, of blockbuster trades being talked about via the between the Spurs and the Hawks, involving DeJounte Murray, young asset for the Spurs, and a young player in John Collins for the Hawks. Two guys that are very good players and have extremely bright futures going right into their prime. Possibility those trades get done, but I don't think this is going to happen. But Knicks fans, I guess you would love to see Julius Randle get traded tonight and maybe get another proven player. But either way, so those are your options. Main ones, though, trade up with the Pistons. Go all out for Jaden Ivey. Trade back, gather more picks, or trade for a proven player. Those are your main options that you could do for the Knicks. There's probably many other things out there they could do. You could also just stand pat at number 11, take your guy at number 11, and roll with it. That's what I probably see the Knicks doing, and maybe waiting more for the trades and the different stuff in the offseason after the draft, but it is. And another year for the Knicks where, they have another they have another lottery pick. It's late lottery, but it's still a lottery pick nonetheless. And they have another, big opportunity to improve this roster with a young talent. And the Knicks can't mess this up because they've been doing it for a long time where they're messing up big opportunities like this. Leon Rose and company gotta do well, because the Knicks cannot afford another 30-win season and another coaching change and another reset within the Knicks where it's just rinse and repeat, especially when you have young talent. It's the last thing you want is young talent to go through all these different coaches and then got all these different systems and all these different, coaches and, different structure. It's just bad on a young player, bad for a young team. Knicks need to get this right, because if they don't get this right, this draft and this offseason, this is when you get into the category of Knicks basketball where it gets ugly again and they rinse and repeat and it's back to step one with the Knicks. So need to get this right, and a big opportunity tonight to do so. So we'll see how it goes. And we all know what their clear needs are. Point guard, they have young talent for, and Derrick Rose, you wonder what's going to happen with him. But, Knicks got to step up and do something here if they really, really, really want to, if they really want to, they need to step up and do something if they want to, change and turn the trajectory of the franchise from where it is now, which is kind of, they're in an interesting spot because they made the playoffs and they missed it. They're kind of like right now they're in like the middle. They're like, all right, how are we going to bounce back from a disappointing year? And then they could either bounce back from a disappointing year by doing absolutely nothing, or they could bounce back, make some changes, and improve the roster in a big way. So we'll see. So NBA draft tonight, 8 Eastern. Tonight should be interesting. So it's definitely going to be a lot of fun. Knicks, by the way, like I said, so the Knicks hold the 11th overall pick tonight in the first round, and then in round 2 they hold the number 42 overall pick, and they hold number 12 in the draft in the second round. So got 2 picks tonight, one in the first, one in the second. What will they do? It's interesting. The picks ahead of them are the Magic, Thunder, Rockets, Kings, Pistons, Pacers, Trailblazers, Pelicans, Spurs, Wizards, and then the Knicks there. So, you look at some of the teams behind them that might be willing to trade up with the Knicks. Could be, maybe the Rockets could be willing to trade up into another lottery pick. They do have a lottery pick at number 3, but they could be willing to trade up again. Depending on what the Spurs do with a trade with all that, they could be a team. There's a couple teams behind them that could maybe be willing to trade up for a pick. I don't foresee many teams out there doing that, but maybe they would be, and the Knicks could trade back. A team that could possibly trade back in the first round, trade out of their pick in the first round. It's tough to say. Pistons possibly, because you've already heard those rumors. Maybe the Pacers, because they do have Sabonis. They got a couple pieces. Sabonis is with the Kings now, but they have Halliburton, who's a young piece. Miles Turner. They have a couple pieces they could build with another young asset. Trailblazers is an interesting spot because they have the 7th overall pick tonight, but they're trying to bring Nurkic back. They just got Jeremy Grant. They already have Lillard. Trying to build that roster up again for playoff, and they could do that with a 7th pick. They could also trade back, maybe gather more picks, Knicks trade up, but I don't really see what the point would be for the Knicks trading up to number 7 because it just wouldn't make sense. Why trade up to number 7 4 picks ahead of you? It doesn't make sense. If you're going to trade up into the top 5, not number 7, but it'll be interesting to see. So, big night tonight for the Knicks as they start their off season here tonight. All right, so let's get to the Stanley Cup. So we go from basketball to hockey here. And last night was a wild one, to say the least. As the Avalanche beat the Lightning 3-2 in overtime. And Avalanche take a 3-1 series lead. So I said going into last night's game, and the Avalanche did what they needed to do. I said going into last night's game, Avalanche need to win. Because similar to what the Rangers did, I've seen it before, where the Rangers lose the 2 games in Tampa, then they lose Game 5 at home, and then they ended up losing Game 6 in Tampa. Then I said with the Avalanche, you can't lose Game 4. Because if you lose Game 4, we know how the series goes. then it puts all the pressure on you to win Game 5. Because if you don't win Game 5 in your home building, you're going back to Tampa for a Game 6 in which you're down 3-2. So Avalanche got a big win last night. It was close. It wasn't easy. It was a tough, gritty victory. Darcy Kuemper had a big-time bounce-back performance. And going into the third period, Lightning had the lead. And it was funny, the Lightning scored less than a minute into the game. Anthony Cirelli had a goal less than a minute in. And if you're an Avalanche fan, you're probably thinking to yourself, we just allowed a goal. Darcy Kuemper just allowed a goal less than a minute in. You're like, this is going to be another long, long night. Like, get this guy out of net. Because 36 seconds into the first period, Lightning score. And the fact that the Avalanche, and this is where good teams separate from great teams. A good team would have let that get to their head and would have let that, would have let that get to their head and would have let it, spiral into 3-4 goals. A very great team like the Avalanche didn't let that get to their head, didn't let them that phase them. They bounced back. They were, they played. They did what they needed to do the rest of the first period. Lightning did get a couple of more opportunities, but the Avalanche just weathered the storm on the road, and then they go into the second period, score a goal 5 minutes in, and then the Lightning bounce back, and then the Avalanche bounce back early into the third period and score. That's what a great team does. That's what a Stanley Cup winning team does. Doesn't let that early goal get to them. Doesn't let that early, like I said, doesn't let that early goal get to them. Doesn't let that, 36 seconds rush, right into the game by Anthony Cirelli get to them, because if you did, this is a 4-1 game, this is a 5-1 game, and you're talking about Darcy Kuemper probably getting benched again, and you're talking about goaltending controversy going back to Colorado for Game 5 with the series tied 2-2. So it was funny because when that goal scored, Avalanche fans, like I said, probably think to yourself, oh, good gosh, what are we doing here? Kuemper allows a goal, 36 seconds in, but the Avalanche bounced back. And Kuemper played very well, and you got to give credit to him. And this has been something that it's been very weird, but, some goaltenders are okay with it, where they bounce back from tough starts. Kuemper had a bad start, bounces back. He had a couple bad starts throughout the postseason. He has bounced back every single time. And you saw that again last night. And now you go into Game 5 where Kemper's coming off a very good performance. And to be honest with you, other than Game 3, Kemper's been very good this series. Was good in Game 1, was good in Game 2. Game 3 was bad. Francois to come in. It is what it is. He's going to have those games. He's a streaky goaltender. He's not Vasilevsky where he's consistent. And Vasilevsky didn't play bad last night. I mean, the overtime goal, he probably could have stopped it. It was, a little late. Went right on his blocker side, which is his weak side. I mean, it is what it is. It's the blocker side of Vasilevsky has been his weak side all year long, all of his career. And especially in the postseason, it has been his weak side. Teams have been taking advantage of it, and they did that in overtime. But Vasilevsky didn't play bad last time. And Vasilevsky had 37 shots on goal, and he saved 34 of them. The one of them coming in overtime, where Nazem Kadri had a good goal. It is what it is. It's gonna happen. And he had an open shot, he had an open look, he had an open opportunity, and he took advantage of it. And whether there was 6 or 5 guys on the ice, it was still, Lightning didn't do a very good job defensively. He got a clean shot off, and it went past Vasilevsky and him. And it was funny because when you see the holdup, when you see it was a delayed reaction because the light never Lightning never went off for the goal, and it was a delayed celebration by the Avalanche. They were celebrating, and the Lightning were kind of just like, what happened? And it was clear the puck went into the net, but the big issue was I think the refs thought the puck was on top of the net, or I don't know what they were thinking. They must have thought the thing was on top of the net because, the Lightning were kind of just standing there, all right, what are we doing here? They're celebrating, and we're just standing here. Vasilevsky starts, skating off, and right when he starts skating off, it was a good goal. Refs just didn't obviously clearly see it, and they scored. And now today, you hear all about the 6 men on the ice and all that stuff. Now, I'm going to tell you right now. The game summary showed it of the 6 men on the ice. It was probably a missed call, but not probably. The refs just missed it. They obviously didn't see it. But there's been times throughout the postseason where we've seen this, where teams have had 6 men on the ice and the refs missed it and it goes unseen. And it just so happens it's game 4, it's a tie game in overtime where you see 6 men on the ice and, it is, the goal, it's a goal, the goal is scored. If Vasilevsky stops that puck, nobody cares. Who cares about the 6 men on the ice? He saved it, all that stuff. So, the same thing happened with the Rangers. The Lightning, there was a point where the Lightning actually had 6 men on the ice during the Rangers. It was it was either Lightning or it was one of the postseason series, and the refs missed it. Guy was going off the ice, and another guy came on, and it was clear, there was 6 men on the ice. It was pretty obvious the Lightning mixed it up. There was one time where it got called on the Lightning, and then there was another time where the refs just missed it. And they missed the call. Now, it doesn't matter. Rangers ended up losing the series, but they missed the call. And that's going to happen because the refs aren't all the times focused on the bench. They're a lot of times focused on the play and stuff. And they just missed it. So, look, you're going to make a big, Lightning fans are obviously going to make a big deal out of it because they lost. But they didn't, I wouldn't really say they lost because of the 6 men on the ice. It wasn't like they had 6 men on the ice and it was an odd man rush, 3-on-1. And the third guy was the 6th man. And that's what I always say about penalties sometimes in sports. There's a certain time where, penalties matter. And I've always said this in sports. I hate the penalties where they don't impact the play. And you might think I'm crazy, but, it's a penalty. It is. A holding in the NFL, it's a holding. No matter where the holding or when the holding's committed, it's a holding. Roughing the passer. Think that's the dumbest thing ever, but it is a thing, and it happens. No matter where it happens, when it happens, if it's a roughing the passer, it's a roughing the passer, you're not going to be able to switch the call. But last night, it was 6 men on the ice. How long? I really didn't get it. I really don't know how long it actually was, or if it was just a quick 6th man and then the other guy went off. But the way it is Kadri split the Lightning defense. He got a clean shot on goal, and the Avalanche win the game. And there was many other opportunities throughout the game for the Lightning to win. They could have got another opportunity. That's why I always say, there was, the defense was just not good there by Tampa. That was a bad defensive possession by Tampa. Let Kadri go right into their zone and let him score a goal. So, Tampa also blew the lead. They were up 1-0. Then they allowed, Lightning. The Lightning scored early, and you got to give credit for the Avalanche weathering the storm because the Lightning, like I said, there's a lot of other teams out there that would let that get to them, and they would let up 3 more goals right after that and be like a 4-0 blowout. But the Avalanche kept battling, kept fighting, kept shooting, kept getting pressure, and they found a way to win. So, Avalanche go up 3-2 or win 3-2 in overtime, and they are 1 game away from a Stanley Cup title, which would be their first since 2001. And the Lightning, if they want to get their 3rd straight, they're going to have to win 3 in a row. So, kind of an interesting coincidence there where they got to win 3 in a row to win their 3rd straight. We'll see how that all plays out. But Avalanche needed to do one thing in Tampa. Needed to find a way to win 1 game. That's all. Could have swept them, obviously, but they just needed to win 1 game. They did that last night, and now they go back to Ball Arena in Denver, Colorado, up 3-1, and an opportunity tomorrow night to bring the Stanley Cup back to Denver for the first time since 2001 and snap what has been an incredible run of 3 straight Stanley Cups, 2 of them being won. We'll see what the Lightning could do, and Lightning got their backs against the wall. No other way to put it. There's no more, this is a must-win, this is it. No. It's, you got to win 3 straight, and if you don't, you are walking off the ice, you're walking off the ice watching the other team celebrate, which the Lightning have not seen happen in a long time because the past 2 times in a row, they've won it. So, Lightning got to win 3 straight if they want to win their 3rd straight championship. So, Stanley Cup title. So, we'll see how it all plays out. But Game 5 will be Friday, and that will be on ABC, and it's the Avalanche Lightning, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern on ABC. So, that's going to be interesting. That's going to be a good one. So, Lightning just got to find a way to win this one. Win Game 5 and get it back to, Tampa. Find a way to win that and then put, Game 7, anything's possible. Game 7 in the Stanley Cup, it's your final game of the season. You just put it all out there. Any little gas you got left in the tank, You put it all out there on the line, and you go ahead and you go try your best. But you got to get through games 5 and 6 first before you get to a game 7. So, game 5 tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, ABC, as the the Avalanche will look to end the series, and the Lightning will look to force a game 6 and look to win the series by winning 3 straight and winning their 3rd straight. So, but the Avalanche are in control, I'll tell you that. And they're in. Just even watching them, how they were able to bounce back from that and then bounce back, getting that early goal in the 3rd period. It just was lightning. Like, you could just tell the Lightning the Avalanche are just a little bit younger. They're a little bit faster, a little bit quicker. Like, the Lightning it's tough because the Lightning have not been in this situation. And they now find themselves in this situation. So, and the Avalanche, and this is what's so tough. When you get a young team like the Avalanche, where they're hungry, and they're not saying the Lightning aren't hungry, but they're, you have an organization that's been wanting this for, what has it been, like 21 years now, since 2001. It's just going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. And the Lightning gotta find a way to get off to a quick start in Colorado, because you cannot, both those games, they fell down early. You cannot possibly fall down early on the road in that arena when that place is going wild like it is. You can't do that. So we'll see how it all plays out. But game 5, Friday night, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, ABC. All right. So let's get to the New York sports update and the rest of the sports today. Got a couple baseball games on tonight. Obviously, Monday and Thursday tend to be your off days. So today you got the Marlins, Rockies, Braves, Giants, Pirates, Cubs, Reds, Dodgers, Guardians, Twins, Cardinals, Brewers, Mariners, A's, Orioles, White Sox, Phillies, Padres. Yankees, Astros tonight. Yankees come into tonight's game 51-18. Astros come into tonight's game 43-25. The Astros got Framber Valdez on the mound. He's 7-3 with a 2.78 ERA, and the Yankees got Jameson Taillon on the mound. He's 8-1 with a 2.70 ERA. Over/under is set at 8, and tonight's game comes on at 7:05 p.m. Eastern on Yes. So let's go Yankees. Big series here. And as for fantasy baseball, today I'm winning in my main league 166-136. I've got JT Realmuto, Gurriel, Torres, Bregman, Correa, Adames, Urshela, Harper, Judge, Blackman, Araz, Vaughn, and Jonathan India. I got no pitching going today. And in my other league, I got Realmuto, Crone, LeMahieu, Torres, Bregman, Blackman, Araz, Drury, and Yuli Gurriel. And I've got Joe Musgrove and Jameson Taillon on the mound now. Joe Musgrove is out, but he should be ready to go. He should be back for today's game. By the way, I'm currently winning in my other league 142-31. And like I said, in my main league, I got nobody pitching. Nobody pitching today. So that's that. Alrighty, so Yankees, Astros tonight. Looking forward to that. Kind of get that little bit of that playoff feel as a fan. It's like 4-game set. This is exciting. This has been one we've all been looking forward to, this season, and one that, I think ever since the sign-stealing scandal, I think the Yankees, the Yankees and the Astros don't like each other, and the fan bases, Yankees don't like the Astros, and the Astros fans don't like, Yankee fans don't like the Astros, and Astros fans don't like the Yankees, and that's what makes this great rivalry. And it's turned into a really, really fun rivalry. So that continues tonight, 7:05 Eastern on Yes. And I believe, I'm pretty surprised at this series. And I guess at the beginning of the season, it was kind of just another series. But with the way both teams have been playing, like this could very well be an early ALCS matchup. I don't want to go that far down the line, but you really know how it is. I believe that none of these games are nationally televised. I think tonight's game is on MLB Network, so I guess it kind of is, but it's not like on a Fox or an ESPN, which I'm very surprised. A 4-game set, you would imagine, like the Saturday would be on Fox, and then Sunday would be on, would be Sunday Night Baseball, though Dodgers Braves Sunday Night Baseball, which Freddie Freeman playing against his former team. So I get that. I do get that, but I'm surprised it's not like even like tonight's game or something, or tomorrow's or Saturday's game. I'm surprised it's on like FS1 or Fox or something, because it's a big series. And they're against 2 very good teams, 2 best teams in the American League. Tomorrow's games I know is on Amazon Prime. So it's just interesting because I just find it funny. I just find it weird that these games are like that. These games are not nationally televised, but then it's weird. I was a little surprised. Now, I get it because I understand it to a certain extent because I understand it. I understand it a little bit because the Braves and the Dodgers are playing, but I was surprised to see that they aren't playing on like a Fox or something for this series. I was surprised, but instead you got tonight's games on Fox, tomorrow night's games on Prime Video, and I think Saturday and Sunday's games are on Yes. So that's, I think, how the TV schedule plays out. So anyway, that will do it for today's podcast. Another good one in the books. Tomorrow we'll wrap up the week and finish things off there. So that will do it for today's podcast. As always, I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.